Hello, everybody. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Um, well, our facilities team was here at Good Natured World headquarters. They've been switching around our light bulbs, and they took away the warm tinted bulbs. So it looks a little clinical in here tonight. Sorry about that, but it is brighter. Um, so good on that regard. Um, I wanted to start off tonight on a positive note, but I can't think of a good spin to put on it. Look at this. I found this down by the river. Now, bear in mind, today is Tuesday, September 24th. On Saturday, September 21st, we celebrated another year of It's Our Fox River Day. And there were cleanups all up and down the river, not just here in St. Charles, but, up in Elgin and down in Batavia and North Aurora. And people were picking up all kinds of trash. And yet this still persists. Um, this was, I'll get to where I found this in just a minute. But I did want to add that a participant in the cleanup actually sent me an email after it happened Saturday night. She said, I just want to let y'all know, this is a group email, that one of the things we picked up during the cleanup was a dead duck in the river. We just saw the dead bird, mostly skeleton, and then we realized it was entangled in fishing line. We collected the fishing line, but we couldn't get it off the bird, so we had to carry the dead bird throughout our trash collection. This is a very real problem when fishing lines are left undisposed. Now, you might remember just last week we had the story of Snappy the snapping turtle and how he had become. Oh, wait, hold on. We did talk about that, didn't we? Um, my friend Amber, I wrote about it. I can't remember if we talked about it. Brief summary in case we didn't. My friend Amber, who lives down in Batavia, got a text about a snapping turtle that some boys who were fishing in the pond in their neighborhood had noticed 2 days in a row in the exact same spot doing one of these. Well, it turns out the back leg of the snapping turtle was snagged in fishing line. And so Amber waded out, caught the snapper in a landing net, snipped the fishing line off, got it back to shore, got the rest of the line off of the leg. Luckily, there was no damage to the leg. There were no cuts or anything. So Snappy was allowed to go free and presumably lived happily ever after. But yeah, this is just a huge issue. And I actually talked to Jacqueline, our graphic designer. She was a scout troop leader. I thought maybe, a group that has a lot of members, like a scout troop, might be able to, one, pick up some line, and two, think of some solutions. And I don't know if you guys have any ideas about this. We actually, I think we talked about when this happened a year ago, we had a robin die right out in front of Good Natured World headquarters. Talk about a slap in the face, right? It was hung up in fishing line that it had flown back to the nest that it was building out here in one of our bushes, and the line got snagged on a branch, and it was also wound around the robin's leg, and the robin did not survive. It's a hook on it. How can you be so careless to leave this sort of thing behind? All right, end of rant. But this will carry on here in our next item, which has to do with why I was down at the river. So this email. So I got this email this morning, or maybe it was actually, I think it came in late last night. And it's from a local resident. She's a member of our adult activity center over at the Park District, at the Potawatomi Community Center. Very funny woman. She says, so here I am, innocently drinking my coffee down by the river. A couple of city workers, I assume, pull up. One of them goes over to the river. He drags something to shore. All right, here's where the visuals start because pictures accompanied this. So hold on while I load. Let's see, do the screen share. Here we go. Move that box out of the way. He drags something to shore. It has a good sized rack of antlers. It's an adult deer, obviously dead. He is now laying on the shore, the deer, not the worker. Everyone left. I'm assuming someone will pick him up, possibly to see what happened to him. Never a dull moment in St. Charles. Cheers. So this was one photo. Here's another photo. Let's see. Please move this window away from the shared application. Hold on. Maybe I have to do these shares one at a time. All right. So that was one. There's our obligatory St. Charles Park District commercial. Let me try screen share number 2. Actually, you know what? We'll just skip to screen share number 3, which is the funniest one. Where did it go? There we go. All right, so these guys look like they are, hunters back from a great expedition. I believe these look like fire department members and uniforms. So this is where this happened was down by the footbridge in downtown St. Charles, the old piano factory pedestrian bridge. It's between Illinois Street and Prairie Street bridges. Don't know where the deer came from, how it ended up dead in the water. It's hard to tell from these photos whether it was sick, emaciated. The 2 things came to mind. One was chronic wasting disease, which is seen from time to time. It's not a huge problem in this area, but it is a huge problem for deer that have it. And typically, though, the deer will look kind of emaciated. It's hard to tell from these photos if the deer is in that sort of shape. The other thing that came to mind was the toxic algae blooms that we had been seeing last week. I shouldn't say toxic because we don't know for sure until test results come back. But last week there were a few spots upstream from here. So that's one of the big caveats in this story. There's an algae that can grow during warm weather, drought conditions, toxic. It's called blue-green algae, and what happens is when it photosynthesizes, it can sometimes produce this toxic element, and so animals that drink the water can become sick. Now, where we saw the potentially toxic algae was up north of the dam by Fearsing Creek Park and by Fearsing Creek Fen. And again, this deer was found by the pedestrian bridge, which is well south of there. I would guess at least a half a mile. But so I don't know if the 2 are connected or not. So I went down today to see if there was any signs of what had happened there. All I found was some tufts of deer fur on the rocks that are near the bridge. And of course, that hunk of fishing line. I think they're actually preparing to do some work. I'd heard that that bridge has some structural issues, and I maybe some of you know what the ultimate goal is there. I hope they're not going to take it out because it is a handy thing to have. But there's some um, pretty good sized pieces of equipment there and a couple of poles sticking out of the river that I don't remember seeing before. So clearly there's something that's going to be happening there. What I'd like to do though is find out what happened to the deer. So if any of you here, I'd love for you to pass that word along. I'm also gonna continue this investigation to see if we can find out. But that's a good sized buck. Look at the antlers on that handsome boy. They don't usually just keel over. So hopefully we can get some answers on that. As our dear reader here says, never a dull moment, right? Okay, that was one item. Let's see, let's go to some happy things, shall we? I'm gonna I think I have to stop this screen share because we are going to go back to another screen. Keith, we're going to go to the photos that you and Rebecca shared here. Let's see, we're going to share. Let's get her out of the way. Let's go back here. There's our commercial again. Didn't we get rid of that? And let's go here. So Keith and Rebecca were out and about near, was it the McHenry County Dam, the McHenry Dam? This is the season. This is the season to see these snakes, and this is not the first one we're going to see tonight. This is a little decays snake, or sometimes they're just called brown snakes. That's actually how I learned the common name. The thing about brown snake, if you say you saw a brown snake and you're talking to somebody from Australia, they're going to freak out because there's a highly venomous snake called a brown snake that lives in Australia. This one though, decay snake, and it's not decay with a C, it's decay with a K, and it's after a famous naturalist from back in the 1800s. But this snake sometimes is thought to be a garter snake with some missing pigments. But if we see, in addition to this dorsal stripe down the back, there's also, it looks almost like stitches going down each side as if somebody had embroidered the pattern on this snake. They don't get very big either. A large female, which this might be, this is certainly a well-fed snake, and this is what we want to see at this time of year. These guys are going to be going into brumation soon, which is the snake version of hibernation. And if they go in a weakened state, if they're malnourished in any way, they're not going to survive. So this snake looks like it's got some good meat on its bones. It's a tricky thing to do though, to get enough food so that you've got some fat stores built up. But the snakes also, they need to process food relatively quickly through their system. They don't want to go into brumation with anything in their gut because that could rot. It could develop some harmful bacteria. It could kill the snake. So they want to make sure when it's finally time to go into a secured, say an unused chipmunk burrow, something that's underneath the ground where they can spend the winter months. They want to make sure their system is voided, is clean. So eat and poop is and keep warm in the meantime. That's what they're going to be up to for the next few weeks. So we see these snakes at this time of year stretched out on paths where they're soaking up either the sun's rays or the residual heat if it's a paved path. And they'll continue to do this until it's time to go away for the winter. It's funny because these are fairly common snakes, but we don't really see them except in the spring and the fall when they're doing this behavior. In the spring, it's kind of the opposite. They want to warm up so that they can move around and capture their food. Being the small size that they are, they don't feed on anything with a backbone. They don't eat mice. They don't even get big enough to eat like a pinky mouse. I don't think. They are geared towards eating invertebrates. So they're kind of like a woodland version of a green snake. The smooth green snake also feeds only on invertebrates. So these guys, they're out and about. Keep your eyes open because you too might be lucky enough to see one. This is the other things that Keith and Rebecca saw. So it doesn't seem like it was all that long ago. We were talking about snapping turtles that were laying their eggs. It'll take 75 to 90 days for those eggs to hatch. That difference depends on ambient temperatures, which actually can also influence the outcome of what comes out of the eggs, the sex ratio. I believe it's the warmer the incubation temperature, the more females that are produced. But it's been 75 to 90 days since we last talked about snapping turtles being out laying their eggs, and this is what's happening now. These guys, I think you said you moved something like 8 of them off the path because there's people out there that were not being as cautious with their steps. They are just, even though they're snapping turtles, and yes, they turn into something that might be kind of snappy, I think they are still just the cutest little things. Now, these are common snapping turtles. And I always feel bad for animals that have common in their name, and there's quite a few of them. But when you say common snapping turtle, it doesn't sound as cool as if you said, "Oh yeah, I found an alligator snapping turtle." The thing is, alligator snapping turtles are endangered here in Illinois. They don't live in the Fox River. It's kind of weird. Sometimes they show up in baby ones will show up in bait shops. I remember there was one back when I worked at Red Oak. There was one at the bait shop in Aurora because a lot of those fathead minnows are bred in open pools down south, where these turtles are a little bit more common. The baby turtles get scooped up with the minnows that are brought up here, and anyway. I more often than not, when somebody finds a snapping turtle, they say, "Yeah, I found an alligator snapping turtle," and because it does make a better story than common, but common snappers are still pretty cool. This is part of a clutch that a female snapping turtle can, a large female can produce up to 80 eggs, give or take a few every year. And they are often deposited in multiple nests. So this one clearly was successful, and the little guys toddled out and are making their way in the world now. They are. I do sometimes call these guys nature's Oreos because they have a shell. The shell isn't fully it's not as hard as it's going to be when the turtle gets older, so the things do literally snap these things up. They're a favorite of birds like great blue herons. Crows will pick them up. I think even some mammals will crunch on them as well. It's not easy once they come out of the nest. So thank you, Keith and Rebecca, for looking out for these little guys, making sure that at least the ones on the path got moved off to safety and are off to start their life as little baby turtles. Now oh shoot, the whole picture didn't transfer. But there's enough to see here. This was the other brown snake, and I apologize, Keith, I tossed it into your slideshow because I thought I was tossing it into mine. This was another email I'd received. Text said, "Hey Pam, a good friend of mine took this picture near the Stearns Road Bridge off of the Fox River. Somebody commented that it could be a copperhead, which would be a venomous snake, rare for our area. But you never know. Do you have any thoughts?" This picture was taken a few days ago. So beautiful colors on this snake. And I actually had to stop for a minute because I thought, there is record of red-bellied snakes in this area. Red-bellied snakes are also small, like brown snakes, but I'm pretty sure we're looking at another Decay's snake here. Of course, I can't show you the head because it's over here, and that did not transfer, but this does show the range of colors that we can see in amphibians definitely, but this is a reptile. And the snake that Keith and Rebecca saw has more brown to it. This one has some beautiful copper colors. Now a copper head, yes, it would be very unusual for this area. It wouldn't be something that would occur naturally. It would be something that someone had transported up here, or maybe it might write up accidentally, but a copperhead has a bold pattern on its back. They're actually really, really pretty snakes, but they do not, they don't have a longitudinal stripe down the back the way this one did. So this is just a pretty little brown snake that was doing the same thing the other brown snake was doing, which is soaking up some heat. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if I could quickly, this is going to cause me to have to multitask. I did receive a picture of a copperhead from Mrs. Trisha. I don't know if she's on tonight's call, but she lives out near Kansas City, Kansas, and had someone send her a picture of a copperhead in that area. I'm not seeing it though. Well, maybe I'll add that to a future one because copperheads are beautiful snakes. Yes, they are venomous. Will we run into them here in northern Illinois? Probably not. Will you run into a brown snake? You will, if you're lucky. All right. Let's see. Let's go on to some more slides over here. Now, come on. Kind of gave away the story there. Now, this is a rerun. This is a picture that we ran earlier in the summer. This is the white-marked tussock moth. And you might think, why are we talking about these caterpillars when we're really getting towards the end of caterpillar season? The ones that are going to overwinter, they might be out a few more times if we get another warm spell, but the insect numbers are going to start going down as we make our way through fall. Well, let's see, I'm going to read another email here. This is it's actually an email that was dated June 22nd, but I just found it yesterday as I was digging through a perpetually overflowing inbox. Anyway, this email came with the subject line, "Assault at Les Aarons." Okay, so Les Aarons Forest Preserve is down in North Aurora. It's right across Route 31 from Mooseheart, Child City, and it's right across the river from Red Oak Nature Center. So local folks, you might be able to picture where Les Aarons is if you weren't familiar with it. The first part of the email details this individual's monitoring of a prothonotary nest that was located in a box there at the preserve. And she writes, they'd already nested and raised 5 young, but we could not ever verify whether they had successfully fledged, but that's another story about the caterpillar. She says, I left the area where the nest was and walked slowly back to my car, of course, looking for birds. Once in the parking lot, I was taking off my boots and for some reason swiped at the back of my neck. I was so surprised that I then saw a strange looking caterpillar fall onto the asphalt. It was an uglish, whitish yellow, spiny caterpillar. Cute though, in an ugly way, with a small red dot at one end. My first thought was, I know that I read something about these guys, and I remember the emphasis on don't touch it. I wasn't really sure if the little guy had fallen off my hat or was on my shirt or was actually on my neck. In retrospect, I wish I had taken a picture of the little bugger who was soon to become the culprit. I got in my car and went about my business, not really thinking much of the incident. The next day, I woke up and my neck just felt weird. It was like something was moving under the skin. It was itchy and stingy. I had my husband take a look and he said there were 2 or so reddish bumps, no big deal. I had been scratching at some, and then about 4 hours later, those 2 small reddish bumps turned into a red, spreading, itchy, raised rash that went down my neck and around towards my chin. At this point, I looked up a picture of that caterpillar, and it was identified as a tussock moth caterpillar. I'm now assuming that was what was on my neck. I quickly hit the Benadryl and cortisone to seek some relief. I've attached a picture of my neck. This is 3 days post-assault. I can't say 100% it was from the tussock caterpillar, but evidence sure is pointing in its direction. So believe me when I say it's real and true, and when they say don't touch them. So just a little word for the wise. Now, what was I doing here? I was touching it, but I wasn't touching those bristles. You know, those spines on the back. They and I should also say different people react in different ways. I don't think I've ever petted one across the back. I have had plenty, you know, crawling on me, but this might be, you know, a little late for this caterpillar season, but it's something you can tuck away in your heads for when we get around to next year caterpillar season. Look, but don't touch. Itchy, itchy. All right, just one other little bit of caterpillar related news. Some local nature nerds and I were out at Primrose Farm the other day harvesting a few of the apples there at the orchard that's planted near the lane that goes up to the farmyard. And we found this on top of one of the apples. Susie, you found this. I don't think this is a white-marked tussock moth. I'm pretty sure, though, that it is some other kind of fuzzy wuzzy that lives in this area. Caterpillars, so, you know, most of our butterflies will shed their skin, you know, as they go through their growth stages as caterpillars, and they'll shed one last time into their chrysalis, you know, like a monarch chrysalis or a swallowtail chrysalis, and they will spend their time inside that chamber as they pupate, and then they come out as a butterfly. Well, a lot of moth caterpillars are fuzzy, and they will make use of that fuzz. They'll use that to form the cocoon that they pupate within. This one just happened to do it on top of an apple. Now I was trying to figure out what kind of caterpillar it might be. The first one that came to mind was the Isabella tiger moth, which is what the woolly bear caterpillars turn into, but it isn't really the right time for them. They tend to overwinter as caterpillars. So I'm not sure what this creature is, and we didn't pick the apple. We left it there because it actually looked like it was home to some other creatures too. It had some holes in it. It was a little beat up. So we placed it out of harm's way at the base of an apple tree near where we found it. And if I can figure out what it is, I'll let you know, but there's an awful lot of fuzzy caterpillars out there. So I'm not, and not being a lepidopterist, I'm not sure if we'll get a full response on that, but this is something that's happening too. This is another survival strategy. Some of our caterpillars will go through the winter in a stage just like that one. Now, our next picture, boy, this was not quite a week ago. This was last Wednesday night, so it was still quite warm out. These are the chimney swifts. The chimney, the south, which was a switch from previous years. And I've actually heard that over the weekend, they went back to the north chimney again. But this was really an amazing showing. The week before this, which would be 2 weeks ago, the count was about 2,200. And that seemed like an awful lot of swifts. But last Wednesday night, I think there was double. It was really, they just kept coming. So this video that we're watching is a minute long. And oops, it just started over again. So, after I took this video, I waited about 5 minutes and then I took another video and they were still pouring in. It was just absolutely astounding. Now, chimney swifts, we talked about them a couple of weeks ago. They are on their way to South America. So most of the birds that are this is not local chimney swifts because we all decided to gang up in the
I know. It's like
Canada.
so cute.
Hey Pam, sometimes I don't know if your mic's going in and out, but I couldn't hear all of that.
Oh, and you know what, Laura? I can't hear you either. I wonder if something's kind of
Maybe
going
it's
in.
maybe it's me.
No, it could be. Now I'm being told that I have low system scores. But let me move my mic because it might be that. But yeah, you were kind of crackly.
Okay, yeah, it could be
Oh,
me.
but
It's an old.
now you're better.
All right, yay. All right, sorry to interrupt.
Well, no, I'm glad you said something. Is this better? I moved my
Much
mic.
better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this was last Wednesday night. It was still warm out. There were still lots of bugs.
I
These
know.
are
It's like
birds that rely.
so cute.
I'm gonna stop the talking on the video. Um, these are birds that rely 100% on insects as their diet. So they need to get the heck out of here and move south as our insect activity starts to slow down. They want to make sure they are following, heading to areas where bugs will be easily available as they make their journey all the way down to South America. I will take this to do a shameless self-promotion as well. This Thursday, we're going back to WGN. Actually, been slated, we were going to talk about dung beetles, but honestly, I have not been able to scrape together other than McFarland's awesome dung beetle video. I have not gotten a lot of information about local dung beetles and what people can look for. However, chimney swifts, I thought, even though by Thursday, the chimney swift activity maybe, nearly over, I thought it would be good to get the word out to people that these are not bats. And when I approached the producer of the 9 o'clock hour with this idea of switching from dung beetles, which would be a perfect fit for that morning's show, to chimney swifts, she said, "Oh my gosh, I was just at Ravinia and there were a whole lot of things around this chimney there, and everybody was saying they were bats." So this will be a good opportunity to get the word out that these clouds of small, dark, flying things are not bats, but chimney swifts. So yeah, I might head over to Burgess Norton again tomorrow evening if I get a chance. Let's see, it'll probably be a little, maybe 7 or maybe even a little bit earlier tomorrow night, to see just what the numbers look like. But yep, very cool birds, and it's limited time engagement. They want to get on their way south. But it's truly, truly amazing numbers there. And this is just a little thing. I may have talked about Rustic Road Farm before, but I purchased this community supported agriculture, or CSA, share from some friends who were moving away from the area. And it just struck me when I was there last Friday how much I love shopping at a place where, one, I know where the food has been grown, and I know how it's been handled, and I know it doesn't have a lot of weird chemicals on it. And I love that there's goats there while I'm shopping. Now, these two little ones came in. These are baby goats. There's bigger ones too, and I guess the bigger ones were maybe, I don't know, doing something bigger goats do. And the kids were left up to their own devices. So they came in and we're kind of checking things out. And they found this bin of greens. Now, whether this is greens that are destined to go in the CSA shares, or whether these are greens that were pulled and were ultimately going to go into the goat's pen, I don't know. But these two were just cute as the dickens. And I thought I would let you guys know, if you haven't been there, you should go check it out. This is Rustic Road Farm is on Brundage Road, which runs between Route 38 and Kesslinger. It's called Rustic Road Farm because it is Brundage Road. Quite a bit of its length is gravel. It's part of Kane County's Rustic Road, what do you call that, program, where they want to preserve that rural character. But it's fun to shop there. Maybe you could see in this other picture, besides just locally grown produce, they've got hand collected eggs, and then they've got meats, and they've got bakery goods. So definitely worth a stop if you haven't been there before. Check I believe they're open Wednesday through Saturday. Probably should have checked that before I started talking about them. They are not open every day of the week. Let's see.
Hey, Pam, if I could add in a little bit of a commercial too. I went there to Rustic Road with Elizabeth and Louise, and they also have like chicken salad, their homemade soups, all sorts of stuff in that refrigerator. And they go there a lot, and that big bin is for the goats.
It is for the goats.
It is for
Okay.
the goats. And what they do a lot, because Lou is only 3.5, but they've been going there forever, and they'll ask for some of the leaves or the greens,
Oh,
and then the kids can go and feed the goats that are wandering about, or that are in the pen there.
how
Um,
cool is that?
yeah, so she just loves that, and they have peacocks somewhere too. So
Oh, no kidding.
yeah, they weren't out last time, but tons of excellent food. That's homemade food, along with their bakery goods too. So
Well,
it's delicious.
I've heard good things. I've only had some of their sweet things, but I've heard good things, that they do have other good things. And so now If you're saying it, Laura, then I know it's true.
Yep, yep, you got it.
Well, and while you were telling us about that, I was able to look up their hours. They're open Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Wednesdays and Fridays 9 to 6, and Saturdays 9 to 2. And I tell you, these melons over here, these muskmelons, they were phenomenal, juicy, and dripping. The one I got though was a little soft on one side. So if you're gonna pick one up, make sure check it on all sides. One thing too that I like about it, not every piece of produce is perfect there. Sometimes the carrots are a little funny shaped, but I think that just shows that it's good local honest food, and not something that's like supermarket perfect. A super cool place. And because the woman that was handing out the CSA boxes was like, oh, how did they get in here? And she acted like maybe they weren't supposed to be there. So I'm glad to know. And that looks like collard greens. I think they were having a healthy snack there. Yeah, check it out if you have a chance. Super cool place. All right, so moving from rustic road produce to more locally grown stuff. This was just a quick snapshot. I take these every time I make a trip over to the Salvation Army over on 7th Avenue. That's the destination for the extra produce that is donated by our community gardeners in the plots at James O'Brien, which are next to Hickory Knolls, and also the ones out at Primrose Farm. So we've got some butternut squash here and acorn squash. I'm not going to talk a lot more about that. It was more what happened when I was delivering these squash. So the Joe K. Anderson Salvation Army building on 7th Avenue is where they operate a food pantry. And as I was driving there yesterday, I saw some turkey vultures. And I thought that was kind of cool. And then I saw there was a squirrel. In fact, it's like we talked about last week. There are squirrels everywhere. Well, this squirrel made a bad choice. It was not just flattened in the middle of 7th Avenue. I mean, it was like splayed open in the middle of 7th Avenue. So I thought, oh, well, that's nice. The turkey vultures are gonna, clean that up. Well, then as I dropped off the produce, I started thinking, geez, that might not be such a good thing. 7th Avenue is pretty busy, and it was about the time school was getting out, so the buses would be coming from Munhall School, and parents, lots of traffic around there. So as I went back, I pulled off on a side street, and I grabbed a plastic bag from the Good Natured van, and I scooped the squirrel off of 7th Avenue and tossed it across. So it wasn't in the middle of the road, so the turkey vultures could get to it. And then as I was walking back to the car, I thought, well, gee, I know they've got a really good sense of smell, and I know they might still be in the area, but will they be able to differentiate between the smell that I'm sure was radiating off of the squish spot in the road and where I tossed the squirrel, where it actually ended up? Well, I tell you, it was maybe a 45-second walk over to where I parked. I turned around and look, can you see who's behind the car there? Just that quick. They had come down, one had come down and landed. I never did see where the second one went. But it started checking out that squirrel almost immediately. And these, I just love these birds. They've got that big naked head, and they're big birds too. I mean, they're considerably larger than a crow or a red-tailed hawk. I think their wingspan is somewhere close to 6 feet. This is a mature turkey vulture. We can tell that because its head is red. The young from this year, their heads are, I believe, are still dark. You'll notice there's not any feathers on the head. That's perfectly normal. That is because their business is messy. They eat dead stuff. And if this wasn't a squirrel that could be neatly pulled apart, see, we can zoom in here. I kept trying to figure out what would be a better way to, best way to get a clear shot from my cell phone. Yeah, I can't close anymore. There. So, it was picking up the chunks of squirrel, shaking its head, which I would imagine was, spreading sticky pieces of squirrel on its head. Again, an advantage to not have feathers on the head, so that it would be easy to clean up later. But yeah, it was just hanging out there. I was surprised too. So these are, I would think that the size of this bird, it would be, what would I say? It was very wary. It was very, it maybe was suspicious of me being across the road. This is a zoomed in angle. I don't know if it, was acting this way because I was there, or if they're just naturally just kind of shy. But it would take a little bite, and then it would look at me, and then it would take a little bite, and then it would kind of walk away, and then it would come back. So I actually went tried to hide behind a telephone pole. I don't know that I was real successful at that, but this was the spot that remained. So it was, it was a pretty good, it was not a fox squirrel, it was a gray squirrel. So gray squirrels are, about a pound or so. Fox squirrels are about 2 pounds, but it was a good meal. And I was happy to have obliged to have helped these squirrels. And I then could come back to work and not have to worry that in addition to a squished squirrel, there would be 2 squished turkey vultures on 7th Avenue too. All right, folks, I think we're at the end of these slides. So I'm gonna this down. Let's go back here. Stop this share. Let's go back here. I see we've got some chats to get to. There we go. All right, Diane, I noticed at a fishing area in Yellowstone National Park, there are special waste receptacles with information about discarded fishing line. Yes, that's a good point, Diane. And we do see those in some places around here. The Forest Preserve District, I believe, me worked with some Eagle Scouts. It's like they're made out of PVC pipe. That's the ones I saw. And they've got a round opening, and you can put your line in there. One of the major fishing line manufacturers actually has a recycling program where you can gather line, remove things like hooks, and mail in the line where they will, I think it's Berkeley line. They will then recycle the fishing line. So yes, that's a good point. It's a gentle reminder. Maybe, I'll talk to.
I mean, I don't know how effective it would be, but I just thought if people saw that, maybe they would at least think about it.
Be apt to, use it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I actually corrected myself down 2 messages that it was at Grand Teton. And,
okay.
and I also emailed you a photo of the pipe.
Oh, cool.
The recycle, they call it a fishing line recycling station, which I thought that had kind of a nice ring.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can well, let's see. Yep.
Yeah, I took a photo of it just because I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can. I might have to put it into next week's
Okay.
because
I think there's one by Harners by the river.
By Harners?
Yeah.
Oh, down in North Aurora?
Yeah. I've seen
Okay.
a couple of them around here. And
Yeah,
that-
I know I've seen them. The one Diane sent the picture, there's the one I saw, there was like there was a round opening, and I can't remember if there was a covering on it or not. The one Diane showed has it's almost like like a deposit slot at a bank. So
Oh,
it would that's nice because it would prevent, yeah, just my personal experience with recycling containers in parks is it's supposed to be for X and you end up with Y, Z, and Q and R, and just all kinds of things that are not recyclable. But no, yeah, we'll continue this topic next week because it's an important one. All right. Thank you, Keith, for the correction. Chaina Lake State Park. I think I'd said McHenry Dam, but Chaina Lake State Park is where the brown snake and the baby snapping turtles are happening. And Laura, how long are the brown snakes on average? The females are, all right, so here's a ruler. So this is a foot. A female brown snake can get to be about 18 inches or so. Males are smaller. So they don't get very big at all. In fact, this is about the size of most of the ones I've found, and they're skinny. They're about the size of, I've got another visual aid here. They're about as big around as a pen or a pencil. So yeah, they're little snakes. The first time I ever caught a brown snake, like a case snake, I was actually looking for something else. You guys will appreciate this. I was looking for butternuts. There's an actual living butternut tree over at West Chicago Prairie. And it was in the fall, and I was underneath the tree. I was raking my hands through the leaves underneath the tree to see if I could find a butternut. Little did I know they're like all over my neighborhood. But as I pulled my hands up through the leaves, there was a brown snake. And it was the coolest thing. He was alive. He was probably irritated. What are you doing here, sister? They might have been feeding it. It wasn't a terribly warm day. He might have been, getting ready to start his brumation. But yeah, they are not big at all. Okay, so yeah, no, not a copperhead. In fact, I said I had a picture that I wasn't able to find. This would be a pale copperhead, but this would be more typical of a pattern of a copperhead. Some of them are just beautiful though. Those rich copper tones that we saw on the that headless brown snake that I'd added to those. This without without rattles, you'd be seeing a pattern that looked kind of like that. So let's see. Oh, Greg and Kelly. Oh, okay, cool. Let's bear with me here. This is gonna require some more multitasking, but I'm gonna look up our Facebook message, and we'll see if we have a copperhead to look at from Greg and Kelly. It's funny. The first and only time I ever saw, no, I shouldn't say that. Actually, I've seen a couple other copperheads, but the first time I ever saw one was in Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And we were, I was part of a week-long naturalist program there. And they were, we'd done some nighttime naturalist interpretation of some of the phenomenon there. And this copperhead was coming across a bridge as the naturalists were coming towards it. And the poor copperhead, sees all these people with flashlights that, and some with cameras, and we're all trying to get a, good look at this copperhead. Well, rather than, attack us and bite us and do all the things that, people say venomous snakes do, it actually threw itself off the bridge into the water below and swam the rest of the way that it was. So they're not all that you might hear about. Let's see. All right, Kelly, you got your picture here. And ooh, Turkey Run State Park in southern Indiana. Yeah. Look at that. All right, let me see if I can share this. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to share the screen. All right. That sure looks like one. See the copperhead? Lucky you guys. I trust that you didn't try to pick it up or mess with it or anything. But that's so. If you can picture where Turkey Run is, it's well, it's not terribly far from Champaign Urbana. I know in college a lot of people took trips there. I was never one to go there, never got to go there, but super cool photo of a copperhead. Note the pattern, very much unlike the brown snake that we saw, and also the size and shape, very much unlike what we saw before. Great shot, you guys. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. And the copperhead. All right. We're going to stop sharing there. What time on WGN? That would be probably 9:30. We haven't discussed it, but that's usually so. WGN has the news that starts at 4 a.m. and it goes till 10 a.m. So about 9:30 on any given morning, they're just really hoping to get through the rest of the program. So they're pretty much open to anything. So either 9:30 or 9:40 on Thursday morning is when we'll be doing our chimney swifts and how they compare to bats segment. So yeah, maybe you can tune in. That'd be awesome. Susie went to the cleaners last night at 7:10 and they were all in the chimney. So Marbury Cleaners over on what was that, 4th Avenue in St. Charles, 4th and Main Street. There's a chimney on the back of that building on 4th Avenue. And they were, I think there were a few hundred there. That used to be Chimney Swift Central, not all that many years ago. And then somebody noticed that they were using Burgess Norton, and it's kind of back and forth. But but had there been some there, Susie?
Sorry. I just saw them around my house. So I
Okay.
walked, and that's usually what I see, and then they're heading that direction. But by the time I got there was nothing.
Okay. So they
I'm assuming they were already in. I'm hoping that they aren't even there.
okay. Let's see. This is 4 days ago on the Chimney Swifts Facebook page. Like if you're at all interested in Chimney Swifts, you can join whether you're here in Kane County or wherever. There's a Facebook group if you're on Facebook. This is called Chimney Swifts over the Fox Valley and beyond, and it's maintained by Rich and Marion Miller, who are the king and queen of chimney swifts. They've been educating people about these birds for over 10 years now. Marion posted, it says 4 days ago, 135 chimney swifts went to roost this evening at Marbury Cleaners. These numbers are slowly trickling up. If we continue to see an increase, we may do a sit here. I'll keep you all posted. So we'll see. if there's more news there, but
Mhm.
this is a good group to follow if you want to know what the swifts are up to. It continues throughout the year, even though the birds are gone in the wintertime. If Marion or Rich find something of interest about swifts, they'll post on that page. So yeah, they probably are still a few in the area. I think though this cool wet weather that we're in is going to have them wanting to get out of here so they can find some bugs. Okay, with that, looks like we are at the end of our chats and we're at the end of our time for this week. Oh, hold on, I did have one more thing. Little scheduling announcement. So many of you sign up in advance for Good Natured Hour, as you know how our system here works. Just pick a bunch of dates and get it over with at once. I'm sorry to have to say this, but we had to juggle some things around. I'm not going to be home. I'm going to a class that goes until late in the day on Tuesday, October 8th. So I don't think I'll be home by 8 o'clock that night. So even though you are registered for the October 8th date, there's no Good Nature. To make up for that, on Tuesday, October 29th, which currently is blacked out in Peak, our registration system, we're going to open that up. So no Good Nature, and I'll make this announcement again. Hopefully I remember next week on October 1st. Can you believe it's already October? But no October no October 8th date, but we are adding in October 29th. So last little housekeeping announcement. And that's what I have. That's all for this week, folks. Appreciate your time tonight. I have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy the rain that we got. Wasn't it a blessing? See y'all next week.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Pam.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Pam.
Pam.
Have a
Good
good one.
night, Pam.
Good
Hey,
night.
Pam.
Good night, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.